Women's soccer was the first all-women's national sport. However, it took a lot of time and hard work to achieve this status. Women have always carved out their own place in sports, from Wilma Rudolph to Billie Jean King to Larissa Latinina, and even out to the U.S. women's national team. Women have proven themselves champions over the last century.
But women were still looking for a position in team sports. Not until the late 1980s did women's involvement in team sports begin to surface to the public arena. The development of the national women's soccer team challenged stereotypes in an effort to create a professional national women's team. Title IX provided an opportunity for the national women's soccer team to take a stand against gender stereotypes and pave way to the development of women's involvement in soccer.
Prior to the 1900s, sports for women existed in the form of play activities that were recreational rather than competitive. Ever since sports were invented, sports have been a male-dominated field. Men with strength and speed were what the world wanted to watch.
No one thought that women had a place in this male category. Women were not seen as strong enough, and sports seemed unladylike for the world, leading women's sports to be underfunded and neglected.
The women's suffrage movement in the late 19th and 20th century resulted in the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920, and eventually gave women greater confidence in the public aspect and hopefulness for their future.
My idols and my role models were 300-pound football players and 8-foot-tall basketball players, and I don't remember ever having a woman that I pointed to and said, yeah, that's who I'm going to be one day.
Around World War I, women's soccer grew and became popular, but only in European nations. However, despite these successes, there was a ban placed on women's soccer in 1921. This ban stunted the growth of women's soccer in the most popular soccer countries, leading to an even later development for soccer around the world.
Let's move on to 1972 in the United States, when women's soccer finally began to emerge. Political activists for women's rights codified this attitude with the passage of Title IX of the 1972 Federal Education Amendments, a law banning gender discrimination in educational settings, thus guaranteeing women's legal right to an equitable share of athletic opportunities and resources.
No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or subjected to the discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Most people think Title IX only applies to sports, but athletics is only one of the multiple areas addressed by the law.
These include access to higher education, career education, employment, learning environment, math and science, sexual harassment, standardized testing, and technology.
Title IX was just the beginning of getting women into sports and, in addition, expanding America's views on the more and more popular sport called soccer. However, it still took time for women's soccer to develop the appreciation they deserved.
Without Title IX, I think first and foremost, I wouldn't have been able to, play soccer or any sport that I liked in high school.
As women's participation in college soccer grew, along followed an increased development of the powerhouses and institutions such as the National Junior College Athletic Association, or the NJCAA, and National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, the NAIA, who launched their first women's championships in the early 1980s. The mid-80s showed a new platform for women's soccer, the first National Women's Soccer League. Although never noticed by press or any more the soccer world, a monumental event happened in the year 1985 for the newly formed women's national team, their first international game. Into their second season as a team, alongside with the direction of their head coach, Mike Ryan, Ryan coached the first 4 matches in U.S. women's national team history, taking the team to Italy in August of 1985.
As they developed, the women's soccer team fan base increased, but the women's soccer team still did not have a significant or immediate impact on the public scope of attention. After returning home from Italy, the team disbanded, and the players went their separate ways. Due to the underfunded women's league and lack of commitment to form a real national team, the Women's National Soccer League would not reach its full potential until the early 1990s. Coached by North Carolina coaching legend Anson Dorrance, who brought a more professional coaching regimen, finally opened the national team to opportunities of victory.
One of the big issues in developing and leading my women's team was a tremendous lack of confidence that they all seemed to have, even the ones that were extraordinary. So part of my job was to try to build this confidence in every practice and before every game, and I had to use that platform as my driver to try to get these people to their potential.
The foundation Dorrance laid out with the 1991 squad with an emphasis on American style also became the backbone for the U.S. women's national team's future success. Dorrance later said, "I think the key element was that we were different. We played a different style. We were very American in the way we approached the game and in our confidence going into matches. We built our foundation on things like the individual duel. We are going to win every head ball, we are going to win every tackle, and we are going to win every 1-versus-1 contest when we were running at defenses."
It was not until the women won the first ever FIFA Women's World Cup, hosted in China in 1991, that they gained recognition. Due to this win, there was an increased investment in the national team by the United States Soccer Federation, the USSF, that led to the U.S. women's national team's rapid popularity in the United States. This led to the United States hosting the 1999 Women's World Cup. Here, the United States women's national team's popularity exploded due to the exciting championship game where the U.S. won as a result of penalty kicks.
The wins not only gave ground for the women's team, but also enough to convince the board to continue with the team. Women's soccer was the first ever all-national women's sport. The U.S. women's national team continued to create a dynasty for the U.S. in their multiple Olympic gold medal wins as well as World Cup trophies.
However, that was not the end of their struggle. In 2015, a new problem arose: the fight for more equal pay in FIFA. Brought up in the 2015 Women's World Cup, 5 women from the U.S. women's national team filed a complaint with FIFA for equal pay.
Between $3,600 and about $5,000 for women per game. For men, it ranges from just over $6,000 to as much as $17,000. And if they make the World Cup roster, female players receive 44% of what their male counterparts earn.
These women fought to level the playing field and get what they deserve. Not only are they forced to play in turf, which is a much harder and painful field, which the men would never have to settle for. These women have brought in around $12 million, whereas the men have lost about $2 million in the past year.
The U.S. women's soccer team continues to stand up for what they believe in and are rightfully demanding FIFA to level the playing field. Their hard work and determination make them role models for future generations of young women to look up to. In a 2016 interview about the fight for equal pay, Alex Morgan said, "To force a change, sometimes you need to stand up. You know what you're worth, rather than what your employer is paying you. We're not scared. To move the women's game ahead, we need to do what's necessary. I feel other national teams are looking at us for that guidance."
You can treat us equally.
You can give us grass to play on.
You can pay us what we deserve.
The She Believes movement is a movement created by the U.S. women's national team as a way to inspire people, mainly young girls, to strive for what is right. It was made to encourage young girls around the world that they can do anything they wish to and stand up for what is right.
This team taught all America's children that playing like a girl means you're a badass.
The assimilation of feminist principles into the broader population culture solidified the belief that sports plays a positive role in the lives of girls and women. To this day, these women inspire many others to stand up for their beliefs and encourage a generation of strong females.
Today, despite these advances, there is still a gender discrimination that limits sporting opportunities for women at the intercollegiate level. Even with Title IX success in opening doors to women and girls, the playing field is far from level. Today, these women continue to fight for equal pay and conditions that the men have. They continue to push boundaries and stand up for their rights.
I've had enough. I see